Welcome to lesson number 2 of mastering positional techniques, and we continue with the principle of restricting the pieces. And the first concept is Capablanca's motif, immobilizing the bishop. In the following position, I would like you to think of different options. You gotta lock one of the bishops. Pretty much here, the point is bishop on gp is not looking very well, but there is still very active bishop on f1, which is about to jump to b5, being potentially trade itself. But here I want you to lock this bishop on f1, and I hope you found the move. And this move is to play c4. And the point is, right now we activated the bishop from f8, and now it's looking on the whole f8 e3 diagonal. And we also blocked this bishop on f1. It is not able to go to d3. Let's say we want a short castle, won't be able to go bishop d3, bishop h7 ideas. Also, bishop on g3 is not looking well. White continued with f4. They're maybe trying to go bishop g2. Black played g6, and what we are trying to do here is basically potentially trade dark squared bishops off the board, so that this white bishop will be absolutely horrible. So in the game, white continued with king b1, and now black played h5, trying to restrict dark squared bishop on g3. White responded with bishop h4, and after bishop e7, black gained a lot of advantage. And I'm not sure how this game ended, but here black just have a huge advantage. As you might see, we are offering a bishop trade. If bishop goes back to g3, doesn't make sense. We'll play h4, bishop h2, and then we have active bishop on 7. We'll start b5, b4 plan, and white will have to struggle with f1 bishop as well. Now let's get to position number 2, which occurred in the game between Lasker and Capablanca himself. His own method was used against him. So in the following position, as you might see, there are a few arrows. So black are trying to go bishop e6, c5, b6, and they're the ones who actually want to restrict, let's say, this white knight and potentially our c1 bishop. But how do we prevent bishop e6 from happening? Yes, you can play knight d4, but then after knight d4 we actually help black play c5 with a tempo. So to stop bishop e6 from happening, you gotta play f5. Yes, f5 you might actually say, alright, you just weaken your e5 square. But here it doesn't really matter. This bishop on c8 is much worse than our pieces. Black played b6, trying to play c5, bishop b7, maybe put some pressure, bishop f4, bishop b7, and now black are in huge trouble. Takes, knight d4, and bishop is going to e6. Knight e6, rook d7, rook a d1, knight c8, rook f2, b5, rook d2, trying to press this pawn on d6, and after rook e7, very good looking move b4, and white have a huge initiative in this endgame due to this bishop being so dumb, and also knight on c8 is stacked defending pawn on g6. And I can imagine a world where potentially white can even sack the exchange by playing rook e6, which is not really necessary, but it might happen considering how much advantage white have. Now we'll get to another concept. Let's go. This one is very important one in my opinion, and this endgame specifically will demonstrate a lot. I'll show you only one move in this game, but basically this concept, which color of squares for pawns. So when we're playing against bishops, like in the following position, we gotta place pawns on the same color as this bishop to restrict its effectiveness. So what do you think is the best move to play here? There are multiple ones. Let's say computer even suggests move g6. but from positional standpoint, g6 is kinda wrong. You weaken up the whole diagonal. So computer moves actually makes less sense than the move that Capablanca made in the game, as he played f6. And the point is, guys, we placed kind of this whole triangle in the middle of the board, and of course the game is absolutely drawers, but again, I'll show you the next position, but it's very important you place pawns, let's say in an endgame like this, where you have a knight against bishop. If you place pawns on the same squares as opponent's bishop, so that bishop will not be able to create a lot of threats, as you might see arrows to e5 and then arrows to a3, and let's say the opponent wanted to go bishop c5, bishop e3 and just jump around, he just can't do it. So position is equal, game ended in a draw. The following position is actually very exciting. So in the last lesson we were talking about bishop cage, and here I highlighted f6 g5 maneuver, but black still have dark squared bishop. So guys, can you find the best continuation for black pieces? And once again, we use not only bishop cage, which we analyzed in the previous episode, but we also use the concept of placing pawns on the same square as opponent's bishop. So in the following position, we first play bishop c3, and that's, by the way, fast computer line. Even though the game was played like many years ago, those concepts work every single time. It's just the basics of chess. So bishop c3, and after b takes c3, we play f6. We place the pawn on the same square as this bishop. We chase it away. It goes bishop d2, we go queen a4. We're trying to trade queens, because now this bishop is actually a lot worse. Look, we have c5, d6, e7, f6, and potentially g5. White play bishop f4, and now g5. And look at all dark square pawns. That's so beautiful. And again, we see triangle of pawns. h3, knight h6, bishop e3, knight f7. Black have a small edge in the following position. And I mean, they're not risking anything. This bishop is terrible. Potentially knight d5 ideas in the future. Maybe trade bishops. Maybe we should not rush. I mean, rook b8, try to get the open file. Maybe press a2 pawn. But hopefully you're clear with this concept. If not, let me know in the comments. Let's get to the final concept of this serious lesson. Let's go. Another, let's say, not middle game, but it can apply to anywhere. Within the following position, two black rooks are tied to protecting c6 pawn, and we might actually use it. And can you find the first move in the following position? And as you might see, the evil bar is going up, up, up. So we play a5. And now, in order to protect the c6 pawn, rook has to go to a6. Rook, first of all, the main endgame principle in rook endgames is your rook's gotta be active. And sometimes it's even beneficial to sacrifice a pawn, but so you can get some counterplay with your active rook. But in the following position, black played rook a6. They're trying to protect pawn on c6 at all costs, but in this position it's actually bad, because after b4, look at this rook on a6. It's absolutely paralyzed. It has no squares to go. No squares. Black played king a7, and now white are trying to trade off this off the board. Because then white will be just playing up a rook. Because this rook will not go anywhere. Yes, our rook will be kind of tied to the c5 square, since if we go back c5, but we can make sure to kind of, lengthen black suffers for a while. Black played king d6, king e2, h6, takes, king e3, king e5, f4. White gained a lot of advantage and ended up winning this chess game. Rook on a6 is terrible, very passive. Position is completely lost, as you might see. by looking at the evil bar. Now let's take a look at example number 2. And this one is again some sort of endgame right after middle game. Our knight on c6 is just very active. And look at this rook on b7, it's absolutely miserable. White played f5. Basically the point is knight on c6 is too active. This rook on b7 is not moving anywhere. And as long as this knight not going anywhere, this rook will be stuck on b7 and eventually will have to sack an exchange. So black played d5, b4, we're trying to kind of make our knight even more stable. King g7, rook e4, and white are just completely dominating. King h6, rook g1, and now black decided to kind of make this last chance sacrifice, takes, king 2, rook b8, g4, and soon they resign. So I hope you found this lesson interesting and educational. I think it's very important to know all these little things, because then you start applying them in your own games, and then you're like, oh, I didn't know that, but then you played in the game and oh yeah, Romka told us about that. So I think it's very important to know all these little details, so I hope you enjoyed. Let me know if I should continue this series. I'm not sure how this is gonna go, but I mean, I'm learning along the way as well, like, you know, I'm applying them. I'm basically trying to learn all these principles as well, because even though like I'm in, let's say, master level, I still don't know a lot about chess, so I hope this should be, I mean, very beneficial to most of you. Once again, I don't want to take any longer. See you soon. Bye bye.